Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen. It is three bold takes, but as you can see, there's only two of us on your screen this evening for these Slady games this week. Quinn is actually buying a house, so congratulations, Quinn. You are missed, so good luck on that whole process. We know how it is. But before we get started, the channel is sponsored by SeatGeek. Use our code 3BoldTakes to get $20 off your first purchase. Link is in the description. Whenever you check out, you can use that code 3BoldTakes yet again. So as we get into this first game, Chase, I know you have some things kind of to get off your chest here.
Yeah, we're talking Alabama, South Carolina. And last week, before we got on the podcast, no, I didn't say it on the podcast. I guess I didn't let them hang hard enough to actually say it on here. But I told Freddie and Quinn, I said, guys, call me whatever you want, but I think the Alabama Vandy game is going to be extremely sneaky this week. And Freddie ended up going to that game, and also, but before the podcast started, they were like, "Oh, Chase, you're an idiot! You're no way! It's not going to be a good game at all. It's Vandy. Oh, you're a non-ball knower." And Alabama got upset. Alabama got upset, got beat by Vanderbilt for the first time since 1984. Freddie was in the middle of that pile that dog rushed the field or whatnot, took down the field goal post, and I think they threw it in like the Broadway River or something like that,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
They marched it 3 miles from the stadium down Broadway and into the river, which the fire department did retrieve, by the way.
Wow. Okay. So Vandy might not be out money, right? They'll put those back up. No, that would be something Vandy would do, though. Instead of buying new ones, they would just replace the ones they threw in the river. But I mean, it's first off, I wish I was a part of something to watch how a goalpost gets taken down. I want to see how that happens. Like just the force, are we shaking it out of the ground? Whatever. Besides the point. But Alabama struggled in this game, and it wasn't their offensive side of the ball. They scored every single time. They put up 35 points in 18 minutes. They only had the ball for 18 minutes. So it was more Vandy having a plan, having a strategy against this Alabama defense, first of all, and then just mistake after mistake, penalty after penalty on the defensive side of the ball that couldn't get them anywhere. And that's what Vandy came in. Diego Pavia had a great plan. He knew what he was doing. He didn't try and do anything too spectacular. He was only 16 for 20. You look at a game where you upset Alabama, you put up 40. You expect him to go, 35 of 40 with 5 touchdowns. No, it was simple, it was effective, it was innovative, and they Clark Leah knew what he was doing, and he did it well against this Alabama defense. The 4-2-5 that Kane Womack brought in, it's a great defense. It's something Alabama's run for a very long time in their program. However, you're still putting into the system, and when you know how to attack it, like Vanderbilt did, that's what happens. And then also holding on to the ball as they did, it's a very tough game for Alabama to win when you only have the ball for 18 minutes. You're putting your defense out on the field. They're tired. They're going to make mistakes, in which they did, and so that's what happens. But when you get into this Alabama South Carolina game, South Carolina is a good team with a bad coach. I'm just going to say it straight. I can't stand Shane Beamer. I don't think he's a quality coach. He's had a quality win this year, which kind of threw me off against Kentucky. But I don't think Beamer he does not implement a great game plan for his team to succeed. If you look at the LSU game, Lenora Sellers went down, and then you lose that game. You shouldn't have lost that game. You should have a backup plan for when your guy goes down. You had Robbie Ashford come in, who's a former Auburn quarterback, former, I believe, Oregon quarterback as well, so he's experienced. But I really like this game because Lenora Sellers is a wonderful quarterback. He's a lot like Jalen Milroe. He can run the ball. He's big. He's fast. And he can also throw. He's got a big arm. I love the way he plays. He's kind of like a Tim Tebow-esque. But it's going to be very difficult for this team to contain. And definitely after last week, what are you looking at for Alabama? Are you looking at we're still caught up in our emotions, aka Malachi Moore, Jaheim Otis, those kind of guys that are making decisions during and after the game that are going to affect this week? Is that so? Are you going to hang your hat? Or are you going to come out and be Alabama that can put up 70 on this team and really run away with it? But Chase Glover is not worried about this Alabama team, and I'll tell you why. Because Alabama, when teams beat them, they do exactly what Vandy did. And when that stops, that's when I'll stop believing in Alabama. So for this game, I'm going to think that Kalen DeBoer gets back on track. Alabama gets back on track. I think their offense controls the ball because we knew DeBoer could score the ball. Look at his time at Washington. Now it's about scoring the ball, but also implementing your offense to run a slower style that can either speed up and score when they need to or slow the ball down and be methodical at the same time. So I'm going to go with Alabama in this game. Very long, very drawn out. I apologize, Freddie. I need to hear your thoughts instead. Let me quit talking.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, my thoughts on this game's kind of plain and simple. I think Alabama's definitely going to win the game at home. If you look at the spread, Alabama's favored by 21 after they got beat by Vandy. So even Vegas is, even Vegas is saying that it was a fluke, that it was not necessarily a fluke, but they just had an off night, right? And that was definitely the case. And when you talk about this 4.25 from Kane Womack, like, yes. Yes, Bama's ran that before, but that's not normally their base defense, right? Like their base defense is a 3-4 or a 4-3, and that's how it's always been. Now, when you look at what they're doing now, when you have such an inexperienced secondary, you're putting guys on islands. Like you are relying on guys to know assignments to a T, to have certain players picked up, and there's no room for error in that kind of defense, right? Like you're blitzing a lot. You are running a bunch of risks, and when you don't have that experienced defense, you're going to give up big plays, right? And I think that's one of the things that Kane Womack knew, was that, hey, we're going to give up big plays, but let's play a bend, don't break defense. And so far, it's kind of worked all year up until you get somebody like Pavia and Vandy that literally played a perfect game. And what does it take to beat Alabama dating back to 2007? It takes a quarterback that can run the ball and a quarterback to play his absolute best game of his entire career. And both
Yep.
stars aligned last Saturday, whenever Vandy had the biggest win in program history and Alabama suffered its worst loss in program history. Like all those things added up. So when you look at that and you look at what's to come, I I can't bet for something like that to happen 2 weeks in a row. Like stars cannot align 2 weeks in a row against an Alabama team like this. So I am more interested to see how the defense responds. Right, like will Womack be as the thing about last week that really upset me was that he came in with a game plan and he never strayed away from the game plan, even when it didn't work. When Alabama gets in situations when their game plan doesn't work, you've got to pivot, right? Like you just have to, or you're going to get beat. So I'm looking for, if there's a situation midway through the game, they've gotten a couple third downs, can Kane Womack pivot in his reads and his opinion on what to run? That's my biggest question mark for him as a defensive coordinator, is he needs to learn the ability to pivot, right? Whenever you're a head coach, you can make the final decision like he was at South Alabama, but at the end of the day, you rely on your coordinators to come up with a very good game plan for their side of the ball. And so I think he needs to get back in that rhythm. But I've got Bama winning this game. I think they cover the 21 points, honestly. I don't think it's going to be close. Um, I think they're going to come out hungry, and this may be more of a hopeful thing than anything. But I don't think this game is going to be close. Give me Alabama by 21.
Yeah, and let me add as well. This is a good game for Alabama on both sides of the ball. It's hitting the best, but it kind of feels like 2010 South Carolina here. You got a really strong edge in Dylan Stewart, a freshman. He's beat almost everybody he's come up against, even including Will Campbell from LSU. So it's going to be a real strong. What does the tackle presence look like for Alabama for Caden Proctor, and then also Lenore Sellers, just again being able to move. Freddie just mentioned it about how Alabama really struggles with a moving quarterback, a quarterback that can scramble and that can also throw the ball, and that's exactly who Sellers is. So I just want to bring that up, give some love to Dylan Stewart because I've absolutely loved watching him play this year. I'm going to hate watching him play this weekend. I know that.
Yeah. So thanks for watching this video. That has been the Alabama South Carolina prediction. We are sponsored by SeatGeek. Use our code 3BoldTakes, $20 off your first purchase. Remember that. Keep it, save it, love it. Share this video to your friends. We will see you guys next week. More predictions to come.